The first indication that something had gone catastrophically wrong came not from Earth itself, but from a mining station orbiting Proxima Centauri. Captain Rex Manning had been monitoring routine communications when the background chatter from Sol System simply stopped. At first, he attributed it to equipment malfunction. The deep space relay arrays were notorious for their temperamental nature, especially this far from the core worlds. But as hours turned into a full rotation cycle, the silence became impossible to ignore. No traffic control updates from Luna Station. No merchant vessel manifests from the asteroid belt. No civilian broadcasts from the countless orbital habitats that dotted Earth's solar system. Nothing. Rex tried raising Captain Blake Morrison, commander of the patrol vessel Endurance, stationed 3 light hours closer to Earth. Blake's response crackled through the quantum communicator with unprecedented urgency. "Rex, we've been trying to reach anyone in Sol System for 18 hours. Blake's voice carried an edge that made Rex's stomach tighten. "Not just Earth, everything. The entire system has gone dark." The implications hit Rex like a physical blow. Earth housed 12 billion souls. The lunar colonies added another 2 billion. Mars, with its sprawling terraforming complexes, contributed 3 billion more. The asteroid mining platforms, Jupiter's moons, Saturn's research stations, all told, nearly 20 billion human beings called Sol System home, and they had all fallen silent overnight. Rex's hands trembled as he initiated emergency protocols, sending priority alerts to every human settlement within 50 light-years. The responses that trickled in over the following days painted an increasingly grim picture. No one had heard from Earth. No one had received the daily data bursts that kept galactic civilization functioning. The heart of human space had simply vanished from the cosmic conversation. Captain Lisa Kane of the exploration vessel Pioneer was the first to volunteer for the journey back to Sol. Her ship was fast, equipped with the latest jump drives, and she had crew willing to face whatever awaited them in humanity's birthplace. Rex watched her departure from the observation deck of his mining station, a knot of dread growing in his chest. The journey would take Lisa's crew 43 days at maximum burn, 43 days to discover whether humanity's greatest fear had been realized, whether they were truly alone in the universe, cut adrift from the world that had given them life. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. Sarge's Tales Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you. As Rex returned to his command center, he found his communications officer, Tom Bradley, hunched over the quantum array with desperate intensity. Tom had been trying every frequency, every protocol, every trick he knew to reach Earth. His dedication was admirable, but Rex could see the toll it was taking. "Any luck?" Rex asked, though he already knew the answer. Tom's shoulders sagged. "Nothing, Captain. It's like they never existed." Rex placed a hand on the younger man's shoulder. "Keep trying. If anyone can punch through whatever's blocking our signals, it's you." But even as he spoke the words of encouragement, Rex felt the weight of command settling over him like a shroud. In the absence of Earth's guidance, the scattered colonies would look to veteran captains like him for leadership. The thought terrified him more than he cared to admit. Outside the viewports, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the crisis unfolding among the insignificant specks of matter that dared to call themselves humanity. The first refugees arrived at New Haven Colony 67 days after the silence began. Captain Jake Stevens had pushed his civilian transport Meridian beyond safe operating limits, carrying nearly 800 souls from the Outer Rim settlements. The refugees brought with them stories that chilled Rex to the bone as he listened to the emergency council session via quantum link. "We were evacuating Kepler 442b when the silence hit," Jake reported, his voice hollow with exhaustion. "Standard protocol. When Earth goes quiet, we assume the worst and scatter. But it's not just Earth, Rex. The automated beacons throughout Sol System are gone too. Whatever happened, it was total." Colony Administrator Maya Foster took charge of the council meeting with characteristic efficiency. New Haven had become the de facto coordination center for humanity's scattered remnants, a position Maya had neither sought nor wanted, but accepted with grim determination. Current count shows 47 million humans in the outer colonies, Maya announced. That's down from our last census of 51 million. We've lost contact with several mining operations and research stations. Supplies are holding steady, but morale... She left the sentence unfinished. Rex understood. How do you maintain hope when your entire civilization might have been wiped out overnight? The psychological impact was devastating. Suicide rates had tripled in the past 2 months. Productivity had plummeted as people struggled to find meaning in their daily tasks. Some colonies had reported complete social breakdowns, with survivors fleeing in whatever ships they could commandeer. Any word from Captain Kane? Asked Dr. Alan Wright, the chief medical officer at Titan Station, one of the few installations that had managed to evacuate before the silence. Maya's expression darkened. The Pioneer should have reached Sol System 12 days ago. We haven't heard anything. The implication hung heavy in the recycled air of Rex's command center. If Lisa's crew had found survivors, they would have reported back immediately. Their continued silence suggested either technical failure, unlikely given the Pioneer's redundant systems, or something far worse. We need to face reality, said Captain Elena Rodriguez, commander of the defensive platform guarding the agricultural world of New Terra. Earth is gone. Whether it was war, plague, or something else entirely, we can't depend on rescue from home. We're on our own now. Her words sparked immediate debate. Some council members insisted they should continue attempts at contact. Others argued for complete evacuation of the remaining vulnerable outposts. A few suggested they should simply accept their fate and try to build sustainable communities with what they had. Rex found himself thinking about the human spirit, that indefinable quality that had driven their species from cave-dwelling primitives to masters of interstellar space in a few short millennia. Throughout history, humans had faced extinction-level events and survived through sheer stubborn refusal to give up. They had outlasted ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters that should have wiped them from existence. Elena's right about one thing, Rex finally said, his voice cutting through the arguments. We can't count on Earth coming back online, but that doesn't mean we give up hope. It means we do what humans have always done. We adapt, we survive, and we grow stronger. The debate continued for hours, but Rex could sense a subtle shift in the group's dynamic. Fear was giving way to determination. Despair was transforming into resolve. These were the descendants of explorers and pioneers who had left the comfort of Earth to build new lives among the stars. They carried within their genes the same drive that had conquered a planet and reached for the heavens. As the meeting concluded, Rex remained at his console, staring out at the alien stars that now represented humanity's only refuge. Somewhere out there, Lisa Kane and her crew were either dead or had discovered something so terrible they couldn't bring themselves to report it. Either way, the 47 million humans scattered across dozens of worlds would have to write their own future. Captain Lisa Kane's hands shook as she stared at the impossible sight before her. The Pioneer had dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sol System, and what they found defied every law of physics she understood. Earth was there. Luna was there. Mars, the asteroid belt, the gas giants. Everything appeared exactly as it should. But the electromagnetic signatures were all wrong. The planet that had birthed humanity registered as completely sterile on every scanner they could deploy. Captain, her science officer, Dr. Mark Evans, called from his station. I'm reading atmospheric composition as normal, but there's zero electromagnetic activity. No power grids, no radio signals, no heat signatures from cities. It's like someone just turned everything off. Lisa moved to the observation deck. Her crew gathered around her in stunned silence. Earth hung before them like a blue-green jewel, beautiful and terrible in its perfect emptiness. The moon showed similar readings. All the infrastructure they expected to find was present but completely dormant. Take us in closer, Lisa ordered. I want detailed scans of the major population centers. As they approached Earth's orbit, the scope of the catastrophe became clear. The great orbital platforms that had housed millions of people floated like ghost ships in the void. No lights, no movement, no signs of life. The massive space elevators that connected Earth to its orbital infrastructure hung motionless, their carbon nanotube cables intact but carrying no cargo. Dr. Sarah Kim, the expedition's xenobiologist, ran scan after scan of Earth's surface. Her findings painted an increasingly disturbing picture. "I'm detecting plant life, animal life, normal weather patterns," she reported. "But absolutely no human biosignatures. It's as if every person on the planet simply vanished." The crew worked in shifts, mapping the entire solar system with meticulous precision. Every world, every station, every habitat showed the same pattern: infrastructure intact, but completely devoid of human presence. Ships floated in space with their engines cold. Automated systems had shut down in perfect synchronization. Even the emergency beacons that should have activated in case of catastrophic failure remained silent. Lieutenant Jack Foster, Lisa's communications specialist, had been trying to access archived data from any source he could find. 3 days into their investigation, he made a breakthrough that sent chills through the entire crew. "Captain, I've managed to tap into one of the orbital communication satellites. Its databanks are still functional." Jack's voice carried a tremor that made Lisa's heart race. The last recorded transmissions were 74 days ago, at exactly 1300 hours Universal Time. Every single communication network across the entire solar system went dead within a 3-minute window. Lisa absorbed this information with growing dread. A coordinated shutdown of that magnitude suggested either an incredibly sophisticated attack or something far beyond human understanding. But who could have accomplished such a feat? And where were the bodies? She ordered the crew to prepare for surface investigation. If answers existed, they would be found on Earth itself. The landing team consisted of Lisa, Dr. Evans, and 4 security specialists, all volunteers who understood they might not return. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the sprawling metroplex that had once been the eastern seaboard of North America. As they broke through the cloud layer, the sight below took their breath away. The cities were perfectly preserved, looking exactly as they should have looked on any normal day, except for the complete absence of people. Cars sat abandoned in traffic patterns that suggested they had simply stopped mid-journey. Parks and playgrounds stood empty but maintained, as if waiting for children who would never come. The automated systems that managed traffic lights, power distribution, and basic infrastructure had apparently run for weeks after the disappearance, before finally shutting down. Lisa's team landed in what had once been New York's Central Park. As they stepped onto the grass of humanity's birthworld, the silence was overwhelming. No voices, no engines, no sounds of civilization. Just the whisper of wind through empty streets and the distant cry of birds that had inherited a planet without masters. "Where did they go?" Dr. Evans whispered, voicing the question that haunted them all. Lisa had no answer, but as she looked out over the ghost city that had once housed 10 million souls, she felt the weight of 47 million human lives depending on her to find one. The first clue came from an unlikely source: a maintenance robot in the depths of the Beijing megaloplex. Dr. Evans had been systematically accessing automated systems throughout the abandoned city when he discovered that some of the more sophisticated artificial intelligences had continued recording data even after the disappearance. "Lisa, you need to see this," Evans called from his portable workstation. The municipal AI system kept detailed logs right up until the end. According to its records, at 12:57 Universal Time on that final day, every human being in the city simply stopped what they were doing and walked toward the nearest open space. Lisa studied the data streams Evans had recovered. Traffic cameras showed the same impossible scene repeated throughout the city. People calmly abandoning their vehicles, their work, their lives, and moving with purposeful direction toward parks, plazas, and other gathering points. They weren't panicked, Evans observed. Look at their movement patterns. This wasn't evacuation behavior. It was more like they were responding to a summons only they could hear. The security team had been exploring the commercial district and returned with their own disturbing findings. Sergeant Dave Miller reported that stores and restaurants showed clear signs of sudden abandonment. Meals left half-eaten, cash registers open mid-transaction, but no evidence of violence or struggle. "It's like someone hit a pause button on the entire planet," Miller said. "But instead of freezing people in place, it made them all walk away. Lisa authorized expanded investigation teams to cover major population centers across multiple continents. The pattern held everywhere: peaceful, purposeful abandonment, followed by complete silence. But the most unsettling discovery came from Dr. Kim's analysis of the gathering points themselves. "Captain, I've found scorch marks at every major assembly area," Kim reported from her examination of what had been Tiananmen Square. "But these aren't from explosions or weapons. The heat signatures suggest some kind of directed energy event, something that left geometric patterns burned into the ground. The patterns were identical across every site they examined. Perfect circles, roughly 50 meters in diameter, with intricate geometric designs radiating outward like mandalas. The precision was absolute, down to microscopic detail. Whatever had created these marks possessed technology far beyond human capability." As the investigation entered its second week, Lisa made the decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. They had gathered enough evidence to confirm that Earth's population had not died. They had been taken, but by whom and for what purpose remained terrifyingly unclear. The return journey to the outer colonies took 43 days of agonizing contemplation. Lisa's crew worked continuously, analyzing their findings and preparing reports that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. They were no longer alone, but their first contact with alien intelligence had resulted in the loss of nearly 20 billion souls. Rex Manning was waiting when the Pioneer docked at New Haven Colony. The mining captain had aged visibly during the months of uncertainty, his face etched with the responsibility of helping coordinate humanity's scattered remnants. Lisa's report sent shockwaves through the emergency council that had formed to govern the survivors. "Taken," Rex repeated, the word hanging in the air like a death sentence. 20 billion people just taken. Lisa nodded grimly. "The evidence is undeniable. This was deliberate, coordinated, and executed with precision we can barely comprehend. Whatever intelligence was responsible, they wanted our people alive." Colony Administrator Maya Foster struggled to maintain her composure. "For what purpose?" "We don't know," Lisa admitted. "But the fact that they left our infrastructure intact suggests they might return, either for the colonies they missed, or—" She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. The aliens might return with their cargo of human souls, whether as conquerors displaying their prizes, or as returning parents bringing children home from an outing remained to be seen. Captain Elena Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. "So what do we do? Run? Hide? Fight?" Lisa looked around the council chamber at the faces of humanity's remaining leaders. These men and women represented the last fragments of a civilization that had reached for the stars, only to discover that something else already owned them. "We do what humans have always done," Lisa said, echoing Rex's words from months before. "We survive, we learn, and we prepare." The revelation that Earth's population had been abducted rather than destroyed changed everything for humanity's survivors. What had begun as mourning transformed into something far more complex. Hope mixed with terror. Determination tempered by the crushing awareness of their own insignificance in a universe populated by beings of incomprehensible power. Rex Manning found himself at the center of the most ambitious project in human history. The Emergency Colonial Congress, as it had come to be known, had appointed him supreme commander of what they now called Operation Phoenix, an attempt to unite the scattered human settlements and prepare for whatever came next. The first challenge was practical, consolidating resources and populations to create defensible strongholds. The 47 million survivors were spread across 63 worlds and installations, many of them barely self-sufficient. Rex's logistics team, led by the brilliant engineer Kate Thompson, worked around the clock to identify which colonies could be expanded and which should be abandoned. "We can support maybe 12 major settlements at current production levels," Kate reported during one of their daily briefings. "But that means evacuating 31 facilities and concentrating our people. We're talking about the largest migration in human history." The human element proved even more challenging than the logistics. Many colonists refused to abandon the homes they had built, even when faced with the stark reality of resource limitations. Others wanted to flee toward the Galactic Rim, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and Sol System. A few extremist groups even advocated returning to Earth, convinced that the aliens would eventually release their captives. Dr. Alan Wright had established a psychological support network that spanned all the surviving colonies. His reports painted a picture of a species in crisis, struggling to maintain sanity in the face of cosmic horror. Suicide rates remained elevated, but more troubling were the increasing reports of what Wright termed cosmic agoraphobia, survivors who became catatonic when contemplating the vastness of space and humanity's apparent helplessness within it. "We're facing an existential crisis unlike anything in human history," Wright reported to the Congress. "The knowledge that we share the universe with intelligences capable of casually abducting 20 billion people is fundamentally altering human psychology. Some are adapting by becoming more aggressive, more militaristic. Others are withdrawing completely." Rex understood the psychological toll, but he also recognized an opportunity emerging from the chaos. Captain Elena Rodriguez had been working with the military commanders from various colonies to establish unified defense protocols. What they discovered was remarkable. When faced with extinction, humans demonstrated an unprecedented capacity for cooperation. "We're seeing innovations in technology, strategy, and social organization that would have taken decades under normal circumstances," Elena reported. "Fear is a powerful motivator, but it's not just fear driving this. It's something deeper, a refusal to go quietly into the night." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kim, who had remained on New Haven to analyze the samples she'd collected from Earth, made a discovery that changed their entire understanding of the situation. The scorch marks left at the abduction sites contained trace elements that didn't match anything in Earth's periodic table. "These materials aren't just alien," Kim announced to an emergency session of the Congress. "They're from outside our local galactic cluster. Whatever took our people came from very far away, and they left a trail we might be able to follow." The implications were staggering. If the aliens had traveled such vast distances to reach Earth, they likely weren't just random raiders. This had been a deliberate operation with specific goals. More importantly, the exotic materials might provide clues about alien technology that could be reverse-engineered. Rex authorized the establishment of Project Prometheus, a crash program to develop new technologies based on their analysis of alien artifacts. The project brought together the best scientific minds from across the colonies, working with resources that would have seemed impossible just months before. Captain Jake Stevens volunteered to lead long-range reconnaissance missions, using modified ships to explore the route the aliens had taken away from Sol System. It was dangerous work. They had no idea what they might encounter. But Jake's crews were driven by the desperate hope that they might find some trace of their missing people. As the first year after the abduction drew to a close, Rex stood in the observation deck of New Haven's command center, looking out at a star-filled sky that no longer seemed welcoming. Humanity had been bloodied but not broken. They had lost their homeworld and most of their people, but the survivors were displaying a resilience that even surprised Rex. They were no longer the same species that had once taken their dominance of Earth for granted. They had been forged in the fire of cosmic terror and emerged harder, smarter, and more determined than ever before. The aliens had made a mistake, Rex realized. They had assumed that taking most of humanity would break the rest. Instead, they had created something new. A civilization of survivors who would spend every remaining day of their existence proving that humanity could not be casually discarded. 2 years after the Great Silence, humanity struck back. The breakthrough came from Project Prometheus, when Dr. Kim's team successfully reverse-engineered the exotic matter signatures left behind by the alien abductors. Working with captured fragments of the mysterious material, they developed what they called quantum resonance tracking, a technology that could follow the unique energy signature across interstellar distances. Captain Jake Stevens was the first to test the new tracking system aboard his modified scout ship Pathfinder. The trail led him through 14 star systems over the course of 6 months, each jump bringing him closer to the source of humanity's nightmare. What he found at the end of that trail would reshape everything the survivors thought they knew about their place in the universe. "Command, this is Stevens." Jake's transmission crackled across the quantum communication array at New Haven. "You're not going to believe what I'm looking at." Rex Manning gathered the emergency council around the main display as Jake's video feed came online. The image showed a massive structure, larger than any space station humanity had ever conceived, floating in the void between two binary stars. But it wasn't the size that took their breath away. It was the familiar architecture mixed with utterly alien design elements. "It's a zoo," Jake reported, his voice tight with controlled emotion. "They've built a massive habitat complex, and I'm detecting human biosignatures throughout the structure. Millions of them." The revelation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. Their people weren't dead. They were being kept as specimens in some kind of cosmic menagerie. The implications were both hopeful and horrifying. Hope, because their loved ones might still be alive. Horror, because of what their captivity meant about humanity's status in the galactic community. Dr. Kim immediately began analyzing the structural data Jake was transmitting. "The technology is centuries ahead of ours," she reported. "But there are design elements that suggest they've been studying us for a long time. Some of these habitat modules appear to be perfect replicas of Earth environments." Rex felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders like never before. 47 million humans looked to him for leadership, and now he had to decide whether to attempt the most audacious rescue mission in history or accept that their people were lost forever. "Jake, what's your assessment of their defenses?" Rex asked. "Minimal visible armament," Jake replied. "But that might be because they don't consider us a threat. The entire complex is defended by energy barriers I can't even begin to understand. Getting close enough for a rescue attempt would require technology we don't possess." The debate that followed lasted for 18 hours. Some council members argued for immediate action, regardless of the odds. Others insisted they needed years of preparation before attempting such a mission. A few suggested that any rescue attempt would only result in the loss of the remaining survivors. It was Captain Elena Rodriguez who proposed the solution that would define humanity's next chapter. "We don't attack their installation," she said. "We make them come to us." Her plan was audacious in its simplicity. Using the quantum resonance technology, they could create false signatures that would make it appear as though humanity had developed faster-than-light communication and was coordinating across vast distances. To alien observers, it would look like the scattered colonies were part of a much larger, more advanced civilization. "We make them think Earth was just one small outpost of a galactic human empire," Elena explained. "We make ourselves appear more valuable as trading partners than as zoo specimens." The deception required resources they could barely afford and coordination across dozens of worlds. Every colony would need to participate, broadcasting false signals and creating the illusion of massive industrial capacity. It was a desperate gambit that could easily backfire, but it offered something no military assault could provide: the possibility of negotiations. Rex authorized Operation Mirror, the most elaborate deception in human history. Dr. Kim's teams worked frantically to create convincing false signatures, while Jake Stevens and other reconnaissance pilots mapped alien patrol routes and communication networks. The psychological warfare specialists, led by Dr. Wright, crafted messages designed to intrigue rather than threaten their captors. The first alien response came 6 months after Mirror went into operation. A single vessel, sleek, impossible, and utterly alien, appeared at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. It made no aggressive moves, but its very presence sent every human settlement into high alert. Rex watched the first contact protocols unfold from New Haven's command center, knowing that the next few hours might determine whether humanity had a future, or would join the countless other species that had apparently been cataloged and stored in cosmic zoos across the galaxy. The alien vessel transmitted a single message in perfect, unaccented English. "We wish to negotiate with the human collective regarding the return of your breeding populations. Please designate representatives for formal contact." Rex smiled grimly. They had been noticed. Now the real work could begin. The negotiation chamber aboard the alien vessel's synthesis was a marvel of adaptive architecture. Walls that shifted and flowed to accommodate both human and alien physiology. Rex Manning sat across from a being that defied easy description: tall, graceful, with features that seemed to blend characteristics from dozens of species into something hauntingly beautiful and utterly inhuman. The entity introduced itself as Curator Vex, spokesperson for what it called the Preservation Council, through a translation device that seemed to anticipate thoughts rather than merely converting words. Vex explained the truth behind humanity's abduction with matter-of-fact casualness that chilled Rex to the bone. Your species demonstrated terminal characteristics, Vex communicated. Rapid expansion, resource depletion, aggressive tendencies toward other intelligences. The Council has observed 17 similar species in this galactic sector alone. All followed identical patterns leading to extinction within 50 to 100 rotations of their primary star. Rex struggled to maintain diplomatic composure. So you decided to save us by imprisoning us? Preserve you, Vex corrected. The breeding populations are maintained in optimal conditions. Their offspring will inherit the memories and culture of your species without the destructive impulses that would have led to your extinction. In time, modified humans will be returned to suitable worlds under Council supervision. The casual dismissal of human agency ignited something primal in Rex's chest. These beings saw humanity as children to be managed, animals to be bred and controlled, for their own good. The arrogance was breathtaking, but more importantly, it revealed a crucial flaw in alien thinking. You made a mistake, Rex said quietly. Vex's features shifted in what might have been curiosity. Explain. You assumed that taking most of us would make the rest compliant. Instead, you created something you clearly didn't expect. A human civilization, forged by survival and driven by the knowledge that we're not alone. Rex leaned forward. The colonies you left behind? They've unified in ways that Earth never achieved. They've made technological advances in 2 years that might have taken decades under normal circumstances. Most importantly, they've developed something your species apparently lacks: the absolute refusal to accept extinction. Rex activated the datapad he had brought to the meeting, displaying the reconnaissance data Jake Stevens had gathered over months of covert observation. We know where your preservation facility is. We know its capabilities and limitations, and we know you're not the only species keeping humans as specimens. That last statement was a carefully calculated bluff based on energy signatures Jake had detected near the facility, but Vex's reaction confirmed its accuracy. The alien's elegant features rippled with what could only be surprise. You claim to understand terminal species characteristics, Rex continued. But you misunderstood the most important aspect of human nature. We don't just survive. We adapt and overcome. Every catastrophe in our history has made us stronger, more creative, more determined. You didn't save us from extinction. You accelerated our evolution. Rex stood, his movement causing subtle changes in the chamber's configuration. As the alien technology responded to his shifting position, here's our counter-proposal. Release our people. All of them. Provide us with the technology to defend ourselves against other species who might view us as specimens. In return, we'll serve as your partners in this sector, helping you identify truly terminal species while proving that some civilizations can be trusted to grow without destroying themselves. Vex remained silent for long moments, its features cycling through expressions that might have indicated deep thought or internal communication with other council members. When it finally responded, there was something different in its manner, a quality that Rex might have called respect if he thought such beings capable of the emotion. The council will consider your proposal, Vex said. But understand, releasing 20 billion individuals represents unprecedented deviation from established protocols. We would require guarantees of your species' future behavior that go beyond mere promises. Name them, Rex replied immediately. Joint governance, Vex explained. Human settlements would accept council observers. Major expansion decisions would require approval. Most importantly, your species would agree to assist in the preservation of other terminal civilizations encountered in this region. Rex felt the weight of 47 million lives depending on his next words. The offer represented a path to reunion with their lost people, but at the cost of permanent alien oversight. Yet, as he considered the alternatives, he realized that humanity had already proven its ability to thrive under impossible conditions. We accept, Rex said, with one modification. The observers work with us, not over us. This is a partnership between equals, not a management arrangement between adults and children. Vex's features shifted into what Rex chose to interpret as a smile. Perhaps your species is not as terminal as our models predicted. Very well, Rex Manning of the Human Collective. Let us begin the process of returning your people to the stars. As Rex prepared to leave the alien vessel, he carried with him the knowledge that humanity had passed its first great test as a galactic civilization. They had faced cosmic horror and emerged not as victims, but as partners in something larger than themselves. The 47 million survivors had become the seeds of something unprecedented, a human civilization that had been tempered by loss, strengthened by survival, and ultimately recognized as worthy of respect by intelligences beyond their comprehension. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. More importantly, they had proven they deserved not to be. The end.